switcheroony.
I think we're pretty switcheroony. I think we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, February 20th, 2025, coming at you live from Canoga Park, California. From the 2LaneLIVE headquarters, this episode is brought to you by Law Tigers Motorcycle Attorneys. You find yourself in a pinch, getting an accident, call them first before you call your insurance. What's going on today, boys?
Well, what's going on today is it's 80 degrees outside. That's what's going on today. So we're in Southern California. It's 80 degrees, kind of windy, but we could be out riding right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was warm yesterday, warm again today. It's kind of feeling good. And we were talking to some of the guys in Milwaukee yesterday, and I think it was 28, something like that.
I mean,
they were pretty jealous. So, yeah.
Well, if you get a chance, we've had the last two drops this Wednesday, the Wednesday before, and even before that, the Monument Valley series. Go to the YouTube channel, get your friends to subscribe, your families to subscribe. Check these videos out because they're really fantastic. We had a good time, and we were in 14-degree weather a lot.
Even down to 8 degrees.
Yeah, it was pretty cold, but it's cool. So yesterday we did the drop, which was great. Right? Yeah. Had a lot of fun in it. If you haven't seen it, go watch. There's some joking around. Matt dropped his sunglasses in the urinal. I mean, you got to have one of those.
Butter on the steak.
I mean, potato. And then yesterday and also last week, we've had Kyle Snow and Hunter and Janice and all these people talking about mashing that bell and liking. So we just want to thank all of you for supporting. It's been a fun couple of weeks to watch the talks just going in between, because we can see all of you talking here on our screen.
Lady Lassen's in the house.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch you guys have conversation with each other. And Lady Lassen is in the house because I know she wants to hear from our special guest, Margaux Alvarez, who's Josh is going to do an introduction, but she is a badass. She's a wonderful person. She's a winemaker. She's a motorcycle rider, and we're going to do some fun things here in March, specifically March 23rd. We're going to be at the Las Vegas Speedway, International Speedway, with Red Rock Harley. They're doing a track day. I think Kyle Wyman's going to be there, at least Cody Wyman and some of the Wymans. I don't know if they'll all be there, but it's going to be a fun day. Unfortunately, Josh won't be with us because he's going to be in the hinterland in Iceland, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you know, I think she hangs out at Red Rock Harley a lot, but you know why?
Why?
She actually moves the bikes around the showroom for them. She just picks them up, does these like lunges with them, places them where they want them.
So she's a CrossFit trainer.
She's an athlete. She's into general fitness, but she
can lift more than you. She can shoot better than you. She can run faster and farther and more powerful than you, but she's too humble to ever say it. So without further ado, we got Margaux Alvarez in the house. What's going on, Margaux?
There she is.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So it's fun because we know Lady Lassen, Kristen, and Maggie and Brandy and all the fun people there at Red Rock that do such a great job at that dealership. And as we started talking about doing the track day, they wanted us to be introduced to you because you've done the track day. I guess this will be your 4th time, and we'll ask you what that's all about. But we had a nice conversation a couple weeks ago with Nick Einash. Is that how you say the last name? Einash. So that was really cool. And then I think the week before or the week of that we go to the event, we're going to have Cody Garbrandt on as well. And so It should be pretty cool.
Well, I'm looking forward to get on the track, but
me too. Tell us about the track.
Yeah, it was. So I first started riding in 2021, and this was probably 6 months into riding that I decided. I saw the track day and I was like, I'll sign up. I was like, I mean, what do I have to lose? The only way I'm going to get better is by doing more. And I was super intimidated, super hesitant. I was like, I don't know if this is right for me. And I almost considered not doing it. I considered maybe I should do like an advanced rider or another riding course with Red Rock Harley before signing up and doing it. And I think by that time I talked to Brandy, or at least knew the girls a little bit. And I was like, F it. If I don't do this, I'm just going to wait till another year goes by. And then I finally sign up. So I said, I'll just sign up and do it. And I felt so much more comfortable. afterwards. During and kind of going through it, I was a little nervous. I was a little hesitant, but the instructors were great. The Wyman brothers were there. Obviously, Red Rock Harley was there. And it was just a really cool experience because they do a great job of breaking it down, doing some of the drills off the track and then getting on the track. And you have to, I mean, in my experience within fitness and training and even business, the best way you're going to get better or improve yourself is to push that bubble out, and kind of sometimes you have to get uncomfortable. So there were points where I was for sure uncomfortable, but never felt like I was not in control. But for myself, I knew that if I'm going to get better and become a better rider or understand how to take the turns or the corners, I need to put myself in an environment where I'm going to challenge myself. So super green, right? Like 6 months in, I was like, I don't know if this is for me, but I did it and I'm glad I did it. And I tell people, I'm like, hey, whether you've been riding like 20 years, 2 years, I think it's something that people should definitely check out and recommend. And ever since then, I've taken it every single year. It's typically been in December. So it's been a little bit colder, a little bit rainy, but this year it'll be in March, which I'm really excited for, in about a month. So I think the weather will be great. And I think people that are maybe on the fence or considering taking it and signing up for it, I encourage you in gentle, good push in the right direction to do it.
Well, we're excited to be there, and we're going to do a little bit of a meet and greet in the morning with some coffee and donuts or bagels or whatever. And then also, if people want to ride with us out there, go to the meet and greet or do the event, we have a code that they can use and get $50 off the track day. So should be and Josh is going to put that up now, but
and you can only get $50 off if you use these things and read.
Right. Yeah.
Some people have not been reading.
So let's back up a ways. I mean, so you grew up in Montana, right?
Yep. Grew up in Montana.
And whereabouts? Go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, grew up in Montana, about 30 minutes south of Missoula. So if anyone's familiar with Montana, you have the Bitterroot Mountains on the west side of the state, about 30 minutes-ish, plus or minus, depending on how fast you're driving, from Missoula. And I loved it there. I think it really gave me a grounded upbringing, being able to be outdoors. I was really active, being able to horseback ride, be out and about in nature. I think it's something that I definitely, don't take for granted. I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity. It allowed me to do a lot of things. My sisters and I pretty much grew up there. Once I completed high school, I decided, all right, I went completely opposite direction. I went to Hawaii Pacific University, and I'm always pulled back to the mountains. I'm always pulled back to nature. I think that's why it's also been so exciting to learn how to ride and go on these motorcycle trips with Brandy and Kristen and the girls, because it allows you to really be present. And I think that's what Montana reminds me of, being present, being in the outdoors. And I think there's that connection that you don't necessarily get when you're always inside or you're in these big cities. And obviously there's the benefits of the city, but the mountains, the Montana area, I'm so glad I grew up there. And I've gone back and it's completely changed. So I encourage people to go and visit, but I know Bozeman's completely blown up. Missoula's obviously a lot different, a lot more people, but there's still ways to get away and get into the mountains.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to get outside all the time. That's the best place to be.
Yep.
So you were pretty athletic growing up as well?
Yeah. So I did horseback riding, taekwondo, ballet, a little bit of dance. So a little bit of everything, did golf. And I think being active was, a great base for myself, even my sisters, just being outdoors, keeping ourselves kind of busy versus, being inside all the time. I think in Montana, you are kind of pushed to go outside. You have so much nature and outdoors. I mean, it's big sky country. And I think all those activities and all those things set a precedent to like who I am now. It allowed me to stay grounded and rooted, but also helped me, continue to challenge myself and push myself into new environments. Like if I pushed myself back then, I don't think I would have, tried jujitsu or tried riding motorcycles. I think I would have been maybe more in a box. So I've always tried to push myself out. And I think movement is important because we feel better physically and mentally with movement. And that can be hiking, yoga. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily in the gym.
We had two guys that are riding around the States. They're from Montana. They're cattle ranchers, and they rode their Harleys down, came into our office yesterday. And
that's right.
We met them in Arizona, believe it or not, last year.
No way. At an event?
Yeah.
Arizona Bike Week.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and one's actually from Utah, and they're married to sisters, and so the two of them are out riding around, tooling all over. So pretty cool. And we're lucky we get that here because people stop into the store and they share. I mean, he gave us cow ear tags, and he's got a clip on them for using it as a bag tag, and put our names on them, and then put the song till you can't.
So you can't.
Till you can't on the back of the tag. And so it's fun. We get, I mean, stuff we never would have thought of when we started this is, you know, the sight of the people that come in and want to just have a conversation. We mapped out some places for them to go and sent them on their way, and they're pretty happy. But
that's really cool. I think that's what I love is that you have that theme of people, like, no matter what background or where you came from, there's something that pulls everyone together, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you think your best sport was when you were younger? Was it golf or was it volleyball, or what do you think?
That's a good question. I want to say probably golf. I think golf's a very mental challenge sport because you have to physically stay in it, but you also have to mentally not get worked up and like throw the towel in. I loved volleyball. I wanted to play either sport in college. Didn't have the opportunity. I had the opportunity to do golf, but it didn't formulate and finish. But I think golf was probably a little better. It was something I could do maybe a little bit more. I really like it. It's mentally frustrating as well because you're trying to hit the small little ball in a hole, and you have 18 holes to do it. And if anyone that's played golf, you know, the frustration of like one thing changes, the club face opens or closes, and then you slice or hook it, or you totally chunk it, and you're like, oh man. But I think it's a great sport because physically, I mean, you're walking, you swinging, rotation. If you have basic body movement, you can do it. But it comes down to the mental aspect. Like, can you keep your head in the game? If you have a shitty shot and then you chunk it, and you get up there and you're more frustrated, then you're just going to hit 3 more balls in the water, and then you're like up 5-6 strokes. So I think it's more of a mental game, and I think that's something I like to lean into challenging things, and so I think that's why maybe I liked it a little bit more.
So then what you after college, or what took you into kind of the fitness area?
So yeah, like I was super inside, like really wanted to be active. When I went to school in Hawaii, I was too short for volleyball. Golf didn't have a team. We tried starting it, but it didn't happen. And so I just started like kind of doing my own thing, working out, going to the gym. I was really nervous about gaining like the 15, 20 pounds you go to college. So I was like, oh, I better make sure I start running and doing other activities. And actually was a bartender. I started bartending at a bar in downtown Honolulu. And the owner and one of the bartenders was telling me about outrigger canoe paddling. I was like, this is kind of cool. So I got into that, really liked that. I did a Molokai challenge in 2005, I believe. It was from the island of Molokai to the island of Oahu, about 41 miles. And that's like a gnarly race. Like, talk about mental mindset, not giving up. You have a team of people, about 9 to 10 girls. You'll have 6 people in the canoe, and then 3 or 4, you'll alternate. You have a boat that essentially like watches you and follows you. But I really liked that challenge. And I knew that I wanted to continue into fitness. Once I graduated, I moved to the Bay Area, and I knew I wanted to do something in like exercise or health or a health club. And so I ended up joining a health club, became a personal trainer through some friends that were there. I love the aspect of physically challenging myself. And I was like, well, now I want to help others. And I think that big desire to help others was, my sister passed away in 2008 in a car accident. And as an oldest sister, I think I wanted to save her and I wanted to help her, and I couldn't, even though I didn't have any control of that situation, obviously. But not being able to help her or save her or protect her, I think that kind of left a hole in me where I was like, okay, I couldn't help her, but I can hopefully help other people through movement and fitness. And hopefully that will give people the confidence to feel stronger in themselves, which will then lead to confidence outside the gym and other aspects, again, family, business, personal, professional, whatever. And so I kind of went that route. And then from there, that turned into, I ended up finding CrossFit about 1 year, 2 years later. And I think I liked it because, again, it's physically challenging, but also mentally challenging. It's you versus you. Yeah, you might be competing with people in the gym and who you're throwing down with. But at the same time, it's like, you're just trying to push yourself. Like, hey, did I go faster than last week? Did I improve my weights from last month, last year? So I really like that. And that challenge, I think, is, again, I like to put myself in uncomfortable situations. And then from there, I threw myself, hey, if I can do this at a competitive level, why not? I saw other women doing it. And I was like, F it, let's go. Like, I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket and see how far I can go with it. And that was kind of like the beginning or starting of my competitive CrossFit competition fitness training.
So did you compete in a lot of the games?
Yeah. So I competed in the games for 7 years in a row from 2013 to 2019. Yeah. So 6 years as an individual. And then 1 year, the final year, was as a team. I launched my wine business in 2017. So to train full time, be in the gym 6 to 8 hours, and then also try to start a business and get all the paperwork and licensing going, I'd sometimes physically be here, but then mentally be here, like in a different spot. So it was hard to do both. Not to say you can't do it. And I look back now and I'm like, holy crap, how did I do it? I don't know. But I did it. So I think that it just became a lot after like 3-4 years of trying to do it all. I had to say, all right, competition's been great. This was a chapter of my life. I enjoyed it. Hopefully I inspired a lot of people out there to follow their goals, but now I'm going to inspire them hopefully in other ways, whether that's through business, through education, through coaching. And so I kind of, after 2019, that was my last year competing. I did still compete, but I moved it into like the Titan Games with The Rock, American Ninja Warrior. I was like, I'm not done yet, but I try to do a little different stuff.
But life moves on and you evolve and you do different things that are more important at the time. And it's great.
100%. I think we're designed to evolve. Like we're not going to always stay the same. We are going to change our priorities, or what we think is valuable or important. We'll pivot at some point. Sometimes some people want to stay stagnant, and nothing is wrong with that, right? Teach their own. But I think for us, is we're going to grow, might as well grow and help someone else. Like if I can touch one person and help them, and that changes their trajectory of life in a positive way, awesome. If not, then hey man, maybe there's someone else that can help them.
Well, and reflect on the success you had. You put in the work, but you had some first places, third places. You were podium for almost 6 or something of those 7 years, right?
Yeah. And I think I want to say, like, I will, like, that's a great point. I think, and I tell people like, hey, celebrate your successes, embrace the struggles, learn from them, adapt and move on. But I think it's hard too. I'm a very type A personality person where I'm like the next thing. But I tell people, I'm like, hey man, like you got to look back and see how far you come. Like, where did you start? Where are you at now? And what did you accomplish between those 2 points? And so I sometimes forget that. Not that I forget it, but I'm like, all right, that I acknowledge it, but I move on. But you're totally spot on. Like I have to look back and say, hey, to be consistent and to compete at a high level and continuously make it consecutive years in a row, that was hard. And to place on the podium at regionals, to continue on, like nothing's guaranteed. People don't owe you crap. And to think I'm just going to make it again, like, nope, not a guarantee. So
I bet you signed a lot of autographs.
I did. A lot of photos, a lot of autographs, which again, I'm grateful and thankful for that, because I try to remember, because anyone else might want to be in my shoes, or anyone else as a competitor, they might try to want to be in my spot where they're going to compete against me. So I always try to be grateful and thankful and appreciative of the environment that I'm in, and also the hard work that got me there. There's a lot of sacrifices, a lot of tears, a lot of shedding of, blood or time or energy, saying no to certain things to say yes to certain things. But that's the process. And like that goes with anything. Same thing with business, life, relationships, etc.
100%.
So I admire people that have your drive, and there's someone that we've dealt with over the last 4 years, 5 years, that's become just a great friend of ours. His name's Aaron Baker, and he's an athlete as well. Awesome. But he's also a recovering quadriplegic. Damn. And he's still to this day, he cracked up on a motocross practice he was doing because he was pro, and he is now, I think it's over the next 3 years, is going to go all around the world. Last summer he did 2,500 miles on Route 66 on a 3-wheel bike,
a pedal bike,
pedaling.
Yeah.
And insane. And he was in weather, 115 degrees, 103 degrees. And part of his challenge with his body is, he doesn't,
you can't temperature regulate.
Can't really temperature regulate. So whether it's hot or cold, it's really tough for him. And then there's these sudden onsets where he has to use the restroom. And it's like, but to watch him and see him do this stuff, and still continue to press and impress upon people that it's really what you put your mind to. And if you put your mind to it, you can do things that you maybe wouldn't think that you normally couldn't do. 100%. And that's got to be some of the way with you, because if you're not at the highest level, if you're just kind of mediocre in it, it's still good. But to be at the highest level for multiple years, that's a tough deal.
It is. And
so the mental strength is.
It's a full-time job.
100%. And people, and sometimes like I would struggle with like, oh, like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm a fitness coach, but I'm also an athlete. But I'm training 6 to 8 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week to compete at that highest level. And same thing for Aaron. Like he's having to do so much to not only just prepare, but his body has to be physically ready to be able to handle not only different environments, but ask, for so many miles he has to accomplish within a set amount of time frame. And it is a difficult, and it is a full-time job. And I think it's something that's like, oh, well, like you don't really have to work. I'm like, man, like being an athlete is hard because you physically, mentally, emotionally need to be there. And and at the same time, you also have to respect your competitors, because if you're not at that highest level, like you have to say, all right, well, so-and-so, you could make excuses for that person that surpassed them, but you need to give them the recognition because they're busting their ass. They're trying to work just as hard to either meet you or surpass you as well. So giving that recognition, say, hey, I have to respect my competition. And it's a lot of work. And I look back now, I'm like, how did I do it? I'm like, I don't know, but I did it. But again, like I think that mindset's important.
Yeah. Just like Aaron, I mean, if you're an athlete trying to stay at the top or move to the top with him, if he's not actively training every day, let alone to compete or do these massive feats, he's losing an ability to move.
Yep.
So right after, I think his first thing when he crossed Death Valley, 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was, okay, accomplished that. Great. On to the next. You win a competition, you're doing CrossFit or whatever it may be. You don't just win and be like, all right, cool, it's time for a burger, just keep that ball rolling.
Exactly. What is Rich Ortega's question?
Question for her. What would you say to some people in the motorcycle community who do not work out, and how fitness may help them riding?
That is a great question. And I would say it definitely would help them. In terms of how it would help them, I think it would help them physically in terms of their core strength. So anything from their hips to their shoulders. And it, again, doesn't have to be CrossFit. It could be any type of fitness. But I think it'd be important because it's going to help them obviously have a stronger body, but also last longer on the rides. Like when we did that ride to Sturgis last year, we were on the bike. Obviously, it wasn't straight, right? We broke it up, but it was 1,500 miles. And I've never done that. Like that was the longest distance ever. And I think that it's really important that you are in a physical state, because one, you're going to feel better, but you're also going to recover better after those long rides. Like when I got off the bike, I'd be kind of stiff and tight, but if I would do some stretches, do some foam rolling, maybe use a lacrosse ball, I was able to bounce back better. And I think that if more riders did that, they would feel better. They'd be able to ride longer, but also maybe have longer trips. And again, it could be basic like body weight movements, basic stretches. And I know like stretching is the least sexy thing, right? Like stretching or yoga, mobility or joint mobility. But I think it's really imperative as we get older, our body gets stiffer and our body's going to take the position of what position we sit in. So if we sit in a chair, we sit on our bike, we sit in our car, we're going to get this position where our shoulders are round forward, our hips get tight. And I think that if we spend just a little bit of time, even if it's like 5 minutes, right? I've referenced stretching and mobility like brushing your teeth. You don't wait all week and brush your teeth on Saturday. I mean, maybe you do, no judgment, right? But
hey, we're bikers.
Again, no judgment, man. But if you do a little bit of stretching every single day, you'll make a little more progress, but you also create a habit. So then when you decide, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, or hey, I'm going to go stretch now, it'll become a little bit easier. And I think that's really important. So I think it definitely would be helpful for riders, whether it's stretching, mobilization, body weight exercises, lifting weight. It will definitely help you feel stronger from the inside out, but your recovery will also last longer, or you'll recover faster.
Great answer. We left Sturgis last year, and we left Deadwood, South Dakota, and made it to Vegas, 1,100 miles in 15 hours.
I was just going to say, I saw you doing squats while riding on mile 600.
Yes, you do. You get to a gas station, do some push-ups, do some squats, pump the gas, and go. Yeah,
that is awesome. And you don't realize, because you're in that position, like obviously the vibration, but your body's, you're bracing, but you're also just chilling in that same position. You're not really moving. Maybe you extend your leg, your hips, or you shift from side to side, but the amount of time of that is minimal. So if you get off and like do some push-ups, some squats, some lunges, like reach overhead and open up your body, that like 2 minutes of that will feel amazing.
Well, I think for us, I know Lance is working out every morning, walking at night. Josh is running in the morning, and we're trying to watch what we eat. Sometimes the beer gets in the way, but that's okay. Yeah. Only for me. I walk every day. We do chair yoga and chair exercises because I don't have the big gym at the house, but it's stuff that you try to keep at least somewhat fit.
Yeah.
Because when we're out on the road, we're eating, probably not our normal diet. And people will comment on our videos about how do you guys, you're eating steak and potatoes at every stop, or Taco Bell. We've got a couple Taco Bell comments on here as well, but we try to eat as well as we can, and do the things that help us make our bodies a little bit more resilient when we're out riding.
Yeah.
And I think the other piece, not to just to add to your answer too, is I think the more you ride, the more you'll be in tune with that bike, and you won't be as sore in some of the different areas. And because if you're right, like we ride daily, so it's not, but we do feel it. Like if we go out on a 5-day trip, that first day and a half, it's like, oh, we've been riding every day, but we haven't done 400 miles in one day for a while. So you've got to get that seat time back in. But I would encourage everyone to get out and ride.
100%.
So we did have 2 specific questions. If I can find the first one. Question for her: what would be a good snack / meal to have on the bikes that would be positive in our favor?
Yeah, great question. So snacks are very important for sure. And I would say I prioritize protein. And anytime I have something, so like beef sticks, beef jerky, a protein bar. And again, like if you only have a quick time to like refuel and snack, like having something quick and easy like that is easy, like is easy consumption, I would say. So like protein bar, protein snack, in the sense of maybe you could have a beef jerky, and I'll add some nuts to it. So like almonds or like dried fruit with that, because I think of it as like protein, fat, carb. If I have a protein, fat, and carb, that's going to give me a little bit of satiety, but also going to hold me over to the next time. And if it's like a full meal, we're like, hey, maybe I have like you're going to a gas station, you have like those meat and cheese little like sticks, like they're like rolled up like the like salami or prosciutto. That's a great, because you're gonna get protein and fat, and then you could eat like a little bit of carbs like fruit. So I would kind of opt for something quick like that. If you're on the road, it's quick stop and go. And I will actually say, like you said, steak and potatoes, that's actually really good. I think people think, oh, steak and potatoes, like no, it's good. You're getting tons of protein. Again, if you don't exercise or don't do a lot of high intensity, you could pull back the carbs a little bit, but it's all about a balance, right? Like my whole motto is work hard, wind down. And that goes to the beer too. You can still enjoy your beer, your wine, whatever it is, but it's about balance and moderation. You're not going ham. So again, long story short, yeah.
Well, we just had a scene in our last video where we're eating steak and potatoes and butter, and someone commented on it like, God, you guys better have your cholesterol checked, this and that. And Josh commented back like,
said those red meat studies from the 60s are bullshit.
Yeah. Right.
It was processed meat. It was paired with fried shit. It was, don't get me started, homie.
Yeah, exactly. Those were funded by the sugar companies.
But it's funny. I'll add to that too, because we do nuts, we do water, we'll oftentimes have, if we can find a better beef jerky that's a little bit more natural than some of the processed stuff. And we also will indulge in a pickle or two.
Yes, that's great.
And
great
the pickle juice. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, just your everyday lifestyle. I mean, I've cut out sugar. I just no junk food, no fried food.
Good for you.
So I feel good. And when I'm on the bike, I can go the distance, no problem, because I live that style every day.
Yeah.
So for me, that works great.
And that's awesome.
Yes,
so do you know Whit Mesa?
Whit, yeah,
Hi,
Whit,
Whit.
yeah. Totally know her. We got
watching.
So we had her on the show as well, but she's been on here watching you.
A long time ago. When was she on the show?
She did the badass.
I'm trying to think of the first time I met her, was it last year, 2 years ago? Time flies. I'm like, it's 2022, right? I'm like, no, it's 2025.
All right. One more question and we'll get back to it. Margaux, what do you ride and where was your favorite road? That was from Joe Benning.
Oh man, great question. So I ride a Lowrider S 2021. The big trip we did last year was on Pan Am's, and it's tough. I think there was a lot of great roads. I think as we went through Colorado, through Independence Pass, that was probably one of my favorites so far. There's tons that I've been on, but that's probably right now that's kind of takes the cake. There's obviously more to be explored, but that right now is one of my favorites, Independent Pass.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So you got into riding 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah. So 2021 was when I took the endorsement class at Red Rock. And it's funny, before that in 2019, before a competition, the team and I had gone to a friend's in Wisconsin, and we were on jet skis, and I had like this shit-eating grin on my face, like just riding the jet ski across the glass. I was like, man, if this is what's riding a motorcycle, I was like, I need to get a motorcycle. I was like, this is incredible. And I've had some friends that have ridden, like I knew who they were, I like what they would ride. I was like, man, I really want to ride. Like, I really want to ride. And I just being on that jet ski and feeling that emotion, I was like, if this is what it's like, I for sure need to like get on that bandwagon. And so I think it was like April 2021. I was like, all right, I'm just going to sign up for the class and, you know, do it. And I was, oh man, I was a little bit scared and nervous because they asked you like, hey, has anyone ridden? Almost everyone in my class, there's maybe like 2 exceptions, one other girl and a guy. Everyone's like, yeah, you know, I've ridden dirt bikes, or I used to ride. I just need to get this for my license. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't have much experience. I rode a bicycle. Does that count? So it was a little nerve-wracking to say the least. But I was like, again, if I don't put myself in that environment where I'm going to push myself to try and learn, I'm never going to do it. Like, I'm just going to sit there and like wait and wait. Like, the best way to get experience is to do it. And sometimes, you know, you got to take that step, even if you're not sure if you're ready for it. So 2021, I did it, and I was like, I'll just wait to get a bike. I was kind of hesitant, like waiting. But again, if I continue to wait, I'm not going to get a bike, because my thought process was, I'll take the course, then I'll take another course, I'll get more experience, get more comfortable, then I'll buy a bike. And it's like, all right, that's not going to happen. So I ended up getting a bike, and I loved it. And it was I think May. So yeah, June, end of May, June. And so I feel like it was perfect timing, because I could ride. I would go through Red Rock Canyon and the conservatory, so there was not many people out there. And I'd try to get up, since it was super hot in the summertime, I'd get up early, like 5:30, and go riding. Since I was super new and super nervous, I was wearing like full gear and sweating my ass off. But I was like, hey, man, I just don't know. Right now, I'm more comfortable. It's a little bit different. I have to wear full gear. I mean, I still wear gear, but I just like maybe not full jacket in the middle of summer. But it was a really cool experience. And I'm glad I took that step, because, you know, if not, I could be still waiting.
And the mindset is very important. Like you brought that up earlier. I mean, the 3 of us ride in 8-degree weather. We ride in snow, rain. We ride in 118-degree weather. And your body is working the whole time you're doing that, because mentally you're preparing yourself.
Buddy.
It's a job, you know, but a good one.
Yeah. And I agree. Like, you're physically have to be engaged and ready. And I think that's what I like so much about riding, is you have to be present. I mean, you could be dreaming of La La Land, but you literally need to be present, because you're out there, you're on that road, you're right there in that moment. I really like that. I think that helps you stay present, especially in a time where we can be so distracted and pulled by our phones, computers, whatever else we have going on. But I love riding all different like types of elements, because I think it challenges you. And the first time when I did that, when I did the track day with Harley, I had summer gloves on when I rode out there, and my hands were so frozen, like I could barely move them. And you know, when your hands get so cold and they start to warm up, they hurt and ache. I was like, don't do
that. I do.
Suck it up.
Well, that challenge, like you said, when you ride through 118, or you ride through really cold weather, when you're sitting there that night at dinner, it's like you achieve the rite of passage, and you accomplished it, and you feel great eating, and it's like ready for the next day.
Heck yeah.
Is that a protein shake? No, this beer it's sitting here. That's not been shaken or anything. And I just opened, and it just went all over the place. So, Rich, it's not a protein shake. It's a pale ale fight on.
That's right.
Protein beer.
Protein beer.
Awesome.
What do you think you enjoy most about riding?
I think definitely being outside in the element. And then when I go riding, like if I'm by myself, just being out there, be quiet, like being in that moment. And literally, I feel like when you're in a car, you're just in this object moving. Like, you see the outside, but it's not as much as the experience if you're on a bike and you're seeing and feeling nature. I feel like that's so therapeutic in a way. And then when I'm riding with my girls, you just kind of get into a flow and a vibe. It's like, and I think obviously the more you ride with someone, the more comfortable you are, because you know them, you know how they're going to lean into the curves or whatever it might be. But I think being out there, it's like you're this unit and you're just exploring, and you kind of forget about everything else. You don't worry about anything else going on, and you're really in that moment and just getting to explore the road in front of you. And I think also that I love is that it'll take you to new places. Like being on a bike, you're like, I'm going to go explore these places on my bike versus in a car, and it's a whole new element. And I think something about that just really resonates with me. And I think that's where I tell people, I've had women say, hey, I'm kind of interested. I'm like, yes, do it, go for it, because you're going to feel this euphoric feeling. And sometimes it's hard to describe until you actually feel it and do it.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. So if you're talking to a group of female riders or maybe riders, what you would tell them, you got to do it, right? You've like,
100%. I tell them, I'm like, hey, like I say, you can do a class, like, if you're hesitant, go with a friend, grab a friend if you want, or go with someone that's already ridden. I've told them, I'm like, hey, if you're in the area and you want support, I'll physically go there to like be next to you. And I think it's important because maybe they just need a little bit of support. And a friend of mine, she was telling me, she's like, man, I've always wanted to ride. She's like, I've only ridden on the back. I was like, girl, I was like, you would totally love it. She's like, yeah, I just don't know. I'm a little nervous. And I was like, whatever you want support wise to like help you, take the class or go into it, like do a test ride. You just get on a bike and see how it feels. Like I'll be there to support you because again, like I'm not the typical female, I would say, where I'm a little like, hey, whatever, I'll just go do it myself. Like I said, I walked around the dealership just eye shopping bikes. I'm like, maybe I'll get this bike. Maybe I'll get this bike. Like, I don't know anybody here, but I'll say hi. And again, I was uncomfortable, maybe out of my element, but I'm like, the only way I'm going to get more comfortable is to go there. And so I think when I hear females, whether it's in person or maybe online through social media, they're like, oh, this is so cool, I want to go ride. I'll be like, yes, go. Like I encourage them so much because I think maybe they're hesitant. And I've seen this in not so much a little bit of fitness, but also seen this maybe in the firearms or shooting industry. Like I've had women tell me like, hey, I've done courses or I try to go to the range and I'm looked down upon because I'm a female, or the guy was an egotistical prick and I didn't feel comfortable asking questions. And I'm like, oh man, like that's unfortunate. So it's like, obviously having female leaders are helpful and supportive. And that's why I want to encourage like, hey, like whoever it is, doesn't always have to be a female, but if you feel more comfortable with a female there, go for it. But I'm like, hey, can like whoever I can grab and say, let's go, like, let's get them to the dealership. And again, I think if you're in an environment that you're not necessarily comfortable with, it's maybe a little harder to get there. And I'm fine with putting myself there. I think maybe other females struggle with that, but hopefully my focus through social media is to hopefully encourage them and give them the confidence, say, hey, like, maybe I too can do this.
Well, Red Rock is a really great dealership for that too, because they're so welcoming and they have so much going on there and so many things to be involved in. Some dealers don't do that as good, but they're good at it. And it's a great place to have like a family dealership.
Yeah.
I think it's,
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think that's why I love it so much, is because they are so welcoming. And like I said, I've been blessed to meet like Brandy and all other girls there. They're so welcoming, but also inviting and also doing events, but saying, hey, this is our community, come in, come hang out. They have events there. They have supportive like fundraisers for other people in the community. And I think that's really important. And any other dealership, again, I haven't been to tons. The ones I haven't been there for a specific event. Maybe it's just to drop in or check out the store. And I really encourage people to, have that community sense, because that is so important. I think people feel more welcomed. They're more open to doing more events or maybe going to the dealership. And I think Red Rock is special in the sense. And I'm so grateful to be able to be here and experience that. And it's really cool because if you have this environment that's fostering and uplifting and has a positive energy and vibe about it, it's going to be more welcoming. It's going to bring more people in. And that's something that I've kind of seen, especially with the female audiences. There are a lot of, I would say, in different industries, companies out there, like it's hard to connect sometimes, or it's hard to find that female audience or to work with them. It's hard. Like I've worked with other brands and companies that are looking, to focus on connecting more with the female audience. And I think Red Rock does a great job of fostering that and having amazing women and men just be there to be supportive of people. It's incredible to see.
Yeah, I think they do too, but you've got kind of a unique group of people there with, Daughters of the Road and Sin City, and we've had like Jessica Haggett, the founder of the Lead, is on. You and I were talking about this over the phone the other day, and and I think that was her whole push, was she had a bike and didn't have really anyone to ride with, and so she's like, I'm gonna screw it, I'm gonna create a group of people to ride with, and now I'm going to take that across the world. And
I love that.
She's got 30,000 members. I mean, it's incredible what she's done.
Yeah. It's phenomenal.
Same with yours. Yeah.
It's so cool. And like you said, I think having Daughters of the Road and having Sin City Moto Girls there to have that community, I think it can be reassuring for some women out there, like, all right, there is a community, or there is a group that I can, connect and join with. And I think that's what's so impactful is, there's that kind of momentum behind it that allows like other women to see it, but also be a part of it as well. And I think that's important. They feel welcomed.
And women can be tough on each other sometimes. And so,
yes,
so I think when you get into some of these groups, it's important that there's leadership and that there's tolerance and things along those lines as well, so that people enjoy, the actual experience. Because sometimes and we've heard this, and it's one of the reasons why when we do the show, we want female riders on to let them tell their stories, so that other females that might be listening say, yeah, if she can do it, I'm going to go do that. Because sometimes it's a tough world too. Guys will be like, well, that's not your bike. How did you get up here? What, and
did you ride on the back?
Just sometimes, yeah, we blurt things out that don't, need to come out. And so I think it's important for you to tell your story so that others, won't be impacted by it.
I agree. And I think it's important to highlight, because I think there are, and I don't know if it's more of the females more so than males, but females, there can be catty women out there that are like negative Nancy, or they see it more of like, oh, you're a threat to them. And for me, I'm like, man, the last thing we should be doing is pulling each other down, or pulling other females down. Like, right. Let's uplift each other. Let's celebrate your successes. And if a female does something amazing, like, congratulate her and uplift her and continue to propel that. And I think I'm so grateful and blessed to be able to have met like Kristen and Brandy and Maggie and all these other ladies here. And we've become really good friends, not only just within riding, but also outside and doing different stuff besides riding, even though we all love riding. And I think it's important that we should continue to push each other and elevate each other and say, hey, shoot ideas off. Because I think if we're able to do that with each other, then we share that. Other women will see that and like, all right, cool. If they had a bad experience with, girlfriends not supporting them, or females, tearing them down, it will give them hope that, hey, not everyone's like that. And I've had experiences, and a lot of experiences, or negative experiences, specifically women, come from projection or negativity from themselves. They're not happy with their environment or their self, and then they project that on other people, whether that happens to be anything within writing or within like beauty or competition. And it's like, oh, well, I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to tear you down. I'm like, the last thing you should be doing is that. But there are people out there, and that's the way the world is. So, all right, recognize that. Say, I'm not going to spend time with you. I'm going to go find some other badass, amazing women that are supporting and uplifting. And like you said, I think it's important to share stories. And I feel it is a big benefit sometimes of social media. Because again, connecting with Brandy and Red Rock, seeing them on Instagram and saying, all right, cool. Like, there's these cool people, like, let me go over and say hi. I think it's important because other women see that and they're like, all right, that gives them hope that there are other groups out there they can too be a part of and start their riding journey.
Yeah.
Well, all those women that you mentioned at the dealership there, they can get you in trouble. They're bad girls.
A little spicy. Just kidding.
Yeah.
They're not bad girls.
No,
I think if you put
amazing. I'm super grateful to have that friendship with them. And I think it's, again, like, no matter what our backgrounds or what we've done or our experiences, like, we all come together and throw down. And it's really cool to have uplifting with females in your life. And I think as you get older too, you start to filter out, hey man, these people aren't for me, but then these people are for me. And you spend time with those people that are for you or that were with you.
Luckily, motorcycles brings everyone together, and it's pretty much, they got this common goal and vibe, and it's good.
Exactly.
Did you have another question?
I'm gonna have to scroll.
He said, I think I have one more question.
I think it was
awesome.
You're gonna have to come back to me on that. It's way back there.
So your fitness, your life coach, here it is.
One more question. If she could pick any bike to ride forever, what bike would it be?
Ooh, that's a great question. I really love my lowrider, but I think the lowrider ST might be one I think I would ride. I heard a lot of good reviews, and people are like, you should change your bike. I'm like, I haven't even finished building out my bike. So I think the lowrider ST would be the one that'd be like my go-to for the rest
you
of my
can get
ride.
a fairing for that bike and make it an ST.
Exactly. That is true. I can. That is on the to-do list. I'm working on pipe and then handlebars and then get that fairing. So yeah, I would probably lowrider ST.
So you're a fitness coach, life coach, you're badass. You're a motorcycle rider. How the hell did you get into winemaking?
Yeah, great question. So I've always loved like the physical labor. Like I'm not shy of hard work. And so there's a piece of property that had kind of like just home production wine. We planted some grapes, and kind of over the years, I was like, well, I like this aspect because I like being outside. I like the farming aspect, and you could use that all for your home production. But I really liked the time that went into it. So if you look at fitness, right, you spend time in the gym, and it doesn't happen overnight, right? You can't just gain 10, 20 pounds overnight. You can't just lose 10, 20 pounds overnight. So it's a process. And the same thing applies to the wine or even farming in general. You plant the vines, you have to let them grow, let a couple of years pass before you can harvest them. Then once you harvest them, you crush the grapes, you press them, you let them age. Finally, after, a couple of years or 6 months or however much time, depending on the wine and varietal, you let them age, then you enjoy them. So I really love the process. I felt like there's a lot of things that mirrored fitness and training in the gym that also mirrored the winemaking. And I thought, well, I could combine them together. I think it was maybe atypical because people don't think, fitness or like alcohol or fitness and wine go together. But for me, it was about that. Like I said, the motto that I have is work hard, wind down. You work hard in the gym, your career, school, you go for a long ride. At the end of the day, you enjoy a glass or a bottle. But I do preach balance and moderation, right? Don't go crush a whole bottle. But the whole process is celebrating the successes, embracing the struggles, and looking back. And I think part of that approach, was my sister passing and understanding that I am not guaranteed next week, next month, next year. Something could happen and life could be taken tragically. Not that I want to think like that, but I also need to be realistic. Because like if I just wait to, hold my good china or never wear my nice outfits that I'm never going to actually wear them, life could pass me by and I'm never going to experience it. So I think that motto and that approach was something that was really important. And I thought, well, if I can create a business and start a wine company and wine brand, showcasing this, people see the passion I have for fitness and wine. Hopefully I can reach more people and inspire them. And if you don't drink, 'cause I have a lot of friends that don't drink, or they stop drinking, and I'm like, hey, it doesn't have to be alcohol or beer. It could be like just the idea of like, hey, I sit on the couch with my kids at the end of the night and I drink or eat my bonbons, right? I eat my cinnamon donuts, whatever it might be. The whole process is just finding that. So started doing this probably in 2012 was my first plant of the grapes. Over the years, just kind of did home production wine. And in 2015, I finished 9th at the CrossFit Games. And I knew that I wasn't going to compete forever, but I thought, all right, well, if I could start a business and start focusing some energy there, hopefully as the years of my competition come to an end, I can, transfer and pivot, which I was able to do that, but it's very difficult and very challenging. But I launched the business in 2017, and my thought process there was all launch my business at the CrossFit Games and bring in wine and do an event and have essentially kind of a launch party at the games. I was able to do it all. It was a cluster F to give a long story short, but made it happen. But the whole process and the idea behind doing the wine was because I wanted to showcase like the beauty and the hard work and hard labor. Like no matter what you put in, there is a time at the end to reflect back and look back at all the hard work you did. And now you can enjoy a glass or a bottle with friends and family. And for myself, it was a long process, but I think it was important for me because I knew that, again, like I said, I wasn't going to compete forever. And I wanted to be able to pivot and say, all right, how do I transition from an athlete to maybe a business owner? And that was kind of how I got started. And it was great. It's very hard. I will say the wine industry is very difficult, especially as a small brand and company, because you have a lot of larger brands and companies that have maybe more time under the belt. They have a larger budget in terms of marketing, advertising, their sales teams. It was, a lot of work and effort. But at the same time, I knew that if I pour everything into it, just kind of like I did with the CrossFit, like, if I don't succeed or if I don't make it successful or I don't make it, that I just won't ever know. So I have to kind of put everything into it, which I did.
Well, we have a saying, if you don't go, you won't know.
Exactly.
So what is the name of your wine?
So it was called the Goat. I'm doing some rebranding now. It essentially will be Celeste. But essentially it was a red blend. It was Petit Syrah, Syrah, and Grenache. And I think I personally prefer blends because blends are an easier way to introduce people to wine if they're interested in wine tasting, because I think there's so much wine out there. They're like, I like red or white. So a red blend was what I started with.
We have a friend we'd love to introduce you to. Sarlus Winery in San Ynez.
Okay.
Los Olivos.
Awesome.
And he takes people on wine tours, just shows them how he grows and does. And he just loves it so much, but you'd have a good time talking with him.
I would love that. Yeah, I would absolutely love that. Yeah, I think it is such a very saturated industry, similar to fitness. There's so many companies and brands out there, but I love seeing the hard work. I love the process. Again, being outside in nature, that's part of the roots. And I think that's why I gravitate so much to it.
So are you generating cases or?
Yeah, so I was up to about 2,400 cases. I had to pause everything
Wow.
after COVID. I had to stop. I couldn't do any more ride-alongs with distributors. I moved to Vegas in 2018 to focus on the business, and it was good to get the wine into the casinos and wine shops, and I got a couple places on the Strip. But then once COVID hit, couldn't do any more events or ride-alongs, so I kind of paused everything. And then I'm rebranding with a new label, same juice and same blend, but I'll do that hopefully later this year. And I'll focus probably on the Vegas market. And then if I do in-person events, wine tastings, stuff like that. So I'll probably start with a smaller case production, but then be able to focus on building it from there.
And are you using others' wine to help with the blend, or is it all grown on property?
So I work with a female winemaker out of Paso Robles. I do all the wine making there. I started with my farm, but the farm is in Utah. And so a lot of people don't have a desire to drink wine from Utah. So that was a big barrier to entry. That was a big barrier to entry, especially getting into distributors in Montana, in Colorado, and even here. Paso Robles is a more recognized area. And so I focused on the wine, sourcing wine from there. And working with a female winemaker there was great because it's like, all right, I want to blend this together. I want to make it a wine that's enjoyable, but also there's a story behind it because there are so many wines out there that you have to compete against. And I think when I would go around do tastings, I did a lot of kind of boots on the ground, grassroots events. People would either tell me, hey, I'm buying the wine because someone told me it was good, or I'm buying it based off the label. So I think a label and a story is very important that you can communicate that, but also making sure you make it relatable versus feeling like, oh, you have to know about wine to drink it. I think it's very important to just get out there and tell my story, but also connect with people in the community.
Well, we'll have to get a bottle of that and try it.
Yes. Once I get more bottles, I'll definitely send you guys some.
What about future plans for riding? Do you have any places you'd like to take the bike, and whether with group or solo or?
Yes, I would love to make it out to Montana. I got some recommendations of kind of some places to go up there, but I would love to go through Montana, Wyoming, Idaho. That has been yet to be determined. I talked to Brandy a little bit about like, hey, let's plan a trip up there. Good. I would say summertime for sure, like July, August.
Yeah. On your way to Sturgis.
Exactly. Yeah, we talked about that. So I'm like, well, maybe we can plan that. But that's a place I just, again, growing up there and just the beautiful, amazing, not only Big Sky, but just the mountains and everything there is incredible. So I would love to take that. That's kind of like the top of the list of where I want to go. I would love to go back again for Sturgis. When I went to Sturgis, we went out there for the Babes Ride Out camp out about 2 weeks before. So it was cool to actually see Sturgis before it got crazy. They were kind of just getting stuff up there to build out, but it would be cool to go back for Sturgis and actually get to experience that. I've heard obviously different stories from different people and it's like so busy and nuts, but I would still love to experience it because that's obviously something different. So, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely have to do that.
Did we talk about shooting already? We haven't talked about shooting yet.
A little bit of shooting, but let's talk about some shooting.
So you didn't shoot guns when you were in Montana, but you had to pick that up for the Hunter Games and your CCW, right?
Yeah. So in 2022, SIG did a Hunter Games, and they essentially, like I said, we talked about it, like kind of a competition in a sense where you have a group of 4. We were all ladies team, so it was 5 of us, 4 of us, and then a range officer. But essentially, it was a competition where it mimicked a hunt. You had like 3 targets you had to hit. We each had 3 shots for each target. We had about 20 minutes at each station. I think we had about 10 stations, and you had about 30 minutes to essentially kind of get to the next station. We did this in Wyoming, and it was a really cool experience with SIG. Lots of different athletes and different personalities that were up there for it. And that was kind of the first experience in terms of like doing something in a competitive realm within the shooting. We obviously had our cross rifle with SIG, but before that in 2020, when kind of, shit was going crazy, we'll say, my husband had gone to New York. And when he was gone, my garage got broken into. And for me, it was very like a big violation in my mind. I'm like, man, like someone broke into my garage. And I just felt so violated. Some of my stuff, like memorabilia that couldn't be replaced from CrossFit, like that was like a dagger to my heart because it's like I worked so hard to achieve, I think it was like a couple of weight vests and a couple other items. Like that's like, man, that's hard work that I got. And someone just stole it, probably to sell and make money. And so for me, it was concern. So I was like, all right, I'm going to, get my CCW. So I did a couple of classes, just like basic, like rifle, pistol, shotgun, just to have an idea of, how to use the weapon, how to handle, how to reload. If this person or people came back to come, steal or take more stuff. So I wanted to make sure that I was protecting myself. So that was the process to get my CCW. And then 2022 did the 100 games. And after that, I was like, okay, I want to do more of this. I really like it. Again, it's an uncomfortable environment where like I don't necessarily know much about firearms, but I want to learn. I want to be more comfortable. I want to be more confident. But I also want to hopefully showcase my story and show other people like, hey, women, or if you're out there about, want to learn how to shoot, or you want to get a rifle or a pistol for home defense, what is the best option? And so I think it was really important to do that. And then within that same realm, I thought, well, why not just compete at a tactical games? Like, why not just do it all? So I found a tactical games, which essentially is, kind of high intensity training, fitness and shooting together. And so I did one in 2022. That was a really cool experience, something completely different, but it allows you to put yourself in an environment where maybe you're out of breath. Like when you go to the range, you go shoot, you're in your comfortable environment, you have all your gear, you have your kit. But if you're at home and someone breaks in, you're not always going to have that. So for myself, I wanted to kind of not necessarily mimic, because that's not the right word, but I want to put myself in my environment. My heart rate's elevated. I have to shoot. I have to hit a target. And that tactical games obviously was that. So that was my experience in that. I haven't done any since, like qualified for nationals. Couldn't make it that year. So hopefully the goal this year is to do one in October in Arizona. And again, just push that comfort zone again, challenge myself, put myself in different environments. And I think it's important because some people, and again, shooting can be very divisive, I would say. Some people are like, oh my God. And I did a podcast about this too. People are like, oh my God, you're going to kill kids. You're going to kill people. I'm like, hey, no, slow your roll.
You are so dumb for real.
I know it's crazy, but people they just jump on it. And whether it's a misunderstanding for them where they don't understand, I can't control that. But what I can control is, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want to make sure that I know how to handle firearms. I know how to defend myself if I'm in a situation. Obviously, you want to always diffuse. But if I'm in a situation where I need to protect myself or my family or the people I'm around or the group of people I'm with, I need to make sure that I'm educated and I have the tools and I have the mechanisms to be able to make sure I'm in a good position or defend myself. And if you don't like that, that is fine. You can go look on someone else's page. You don't have to be putting haterade on mine. But I think it's really important.
Fight a home invader with a hot dog.
Yeah,
It happens, as we all know. The hate comes out regardless. But
for sure.
We're getting close to the hour here. Let's maybe a couple more questions. But what are you most proud of professionally?
Man, that's a great question. I would say one of the most things I'm most proud of is probably launching my wine business at the same time competing at a high level within the CrossFit space, because trying to do two things at once at such a high level, like 100% each, was very challenging. And I think being able to build up my brand and build up the wine company, as well as continue my fitness career and kind of juggle all those three at the same time, was a lot, but I'm very proud of myself for doing it and not giving up and just being resilient. I think I have a good mental strength, mental game and mental strength and mindset attitude. And I think that for sure contributed to being able to do all those three things.
That's why you did the CrossFit Games and made it, because you're definitely an entrepreneur and you definitely like to go for stuff and you like competition. But did you find out that once you did the CrossFit Games, it helped you in life after, with just people knowing who you were and knowing how you competed? It helps you in business as well.
Yeah, I think all the training, and I will say like all the training that I did is essentially combined was way more time versus the time I spent on the podium or at the top of the podium. And I think a lot of people, they see that, right? Like you have that sliver of moment on the competition floor at the top where people are, oh, congratulations, nice work. But they don't realize like that's 2 to 3 minutes, maybe the most, right? They don't see the hours, the years and all that. And I think all that, like you said, all that time training for such a high level competition allowed me to create that base, and that transferred over to entrepreneurship, into business. And even before then, even in high school, I think, like I said, the golf aspect, that mindset of being able to stay even keeled, not too high, not too low, and, stay the course. I think that definitely laid the groundwork for sure when I was younger.
So what are you most proud of personally then?
Ooh, another good question. I would say, it's like all these good questions. I would say personally, being able to continue life with the outlook of how my sister approached life, where she lived every day to its fullest. She made the most of every opportunity. She tried to not take things for granted. And I think when she passed, that was a very pivotal moment for me in my life. And I think I tried to really absorb how she lived life and take the approach of, she's not physically here with me, but maybe everything I experience and everything that I see and do, maybe she's there. She gets to see what I see. So kind of keeping her in my heart and soul, and that she gets to experience the things I do. And I think maybe that's why I'm so an advocate for like, let me try as many things, because she's not going to do that. So maybe I can experience that for her, and she gets to, in some, different worlds, she maybe gets to see that too. So I think that's maybe my personal goal of continuing to go forward and not just say life's over.
Well, like it or not, personally, you're now our best friend.
You guys are my best friends. I need to come visit.
Well, we'll see you in about a month. We're going to join
Yes.
you out at the Red Rock Harley-Davidson track day. The links in the bio. We've got all your links. If you join us for a meet and greet, you can also join us on the track and sign up for some of the spots that are still available. It's going to be a really fun day, and it's so nice that you were able to take the time out of your day and spend an hour with us, and we really appreciate that, and can't wait to meet really in person.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I don't know about you. What I take away from this discussion is you're like a very motivated, charge forward type of person, and I didn't hear a no or I can't in any of those words. I mean, it was all positive. It was all, hey, I'm looking for the next thing. I'm going to be the best at that. I'm going to at least try my best. And also on the motorcycle stuff, I mean, you're not a tenured rider. You're still new at it, but you're still loving it, and getting females like yourself and others involved in the industry and the scene and riding is it's pretty important. And you have a platform to talk about that, and it's great.
Yeah, well, I feel the same, but I love it because I've been around people like you and people that are positive and have this energy a lot of my life, and it's kind of I like that energy. I thrive off that energy. It's good stuff. And remember, anyone watching this now, you can tell your friends to watch it, because this thing's going to be playing from this day forward on YouTube. So
I'll definitely
you can share it with people.
And also also streaming through Spotify and all the different channels. So we appreciate it. I want to thank Brandy and Kristen and Maggie for making the introduction. Those just wonderful people. We kind of like Dustin too. He's all right. And Justin, they're okay.
Yeah,
he's super awesome.
But go check out the website of Margaux and see all the great things that she's done over her life, and congratulations, and can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you guys both in person.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good show.
Yes,
so we'll be right back. We're going to sign off, and we'll come right back.
Cool. Awesome.
Hold on. Stay there for a minute.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. That was awesome. Margaux is an absolute unit in all aspects. It's amazing.
Yeah, what another great guest. I mean, she's got command. She's like, I love the fitness aspect of it, the mental strength of it. I mean, it's
great.
It's wonderful, and we can all learn from some of that.
Well, these lives that we do are just like when we travel, we meet people. We meet some of the greatest people across this country in different towns, small towns, big towns, and we meet them again on the live, and you get to hear their stories, and it's great. We love it.
Yeah. How's your liquid death?
Wet.
It's a great vessel, and it's good water.
Yes. So thank you all for watching. We love you all. Tell your friends to subscribe to the channel. Just do it.
Hit the bell, like 2LaneLIVE.com for all your merchandise and V-twin
parts and accessories and necessities. It's good.
All right. We got the 2024 and 2025 models for Road Glide, Street Glide, all bikes, 2LaneLIVE.com. And with that, we will see you
down the road.